Hey guys, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a book talk for Autoboyography by Christina Lauren. This book is in store September 12th. It is a brand new male young adult romance, and it's the first young adult romance by Christina Lauren. The beginning of this is going to be spoiler free, so you can stick around, and then at the end I might jump into some spoilery content, but I will let you know before so that you don't get spoiled. Autoboyography was like my most anticipated book of 2017. I'm happy to say that it does live up to the hype that I created for it in my head. Thank you so much to Kristen Dwyer for sending me a copy of this book. I super appreciate it. As I said before, this is Christina Lauren's first male romance, and this book has been described as Fangirl meets Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I honestly say that that would be a correct way to describe this book. If you don't know, this book follows a boy named Tanner who is living in Utah, and he is taking this class in his high school, class where you write an entire novel in one semester of high school. During this class, he starts to fall in love with his TA named Sebastian, and Sebastian was in this class like the year before, and he actually got his book published. Now he's like a huge author. He's gonna be going on tour for his book later that year. It takes place in Utah, and he's living in a very Mormon town. Tanner himself, the main character, isn't Mormon, but his mom used to be Mormon, and so she has like an idea of how their lifestyle is. But Sebastian, the boy that he's falling in love with in this book, is Mormon, and he also happens to be the bishop's son. It's very forbidden in that sense because Mormons don't support LGBT relationships in their religion, and I typically don't really care for books that involve religion. I've said this before a few times just because I'm not really a religious person myself, so I just don't really enjoy usually reading about religion in books, but this one was different because I think it has a lot to say about religion and the LGBT community and how that like fits together sometimes awkwardly. I am familiar with the Mormon religion. I had a friend in high school who was Mormon, but I wouldn't say that I'm like an expert on it. I don't know a lot about it, but this is my first time ever reading a book that involves a Mormon character and strongly involves the Mormon religion, even more so than I was expecting it to. So it definitely makes this book controversial, but I did like too that the main character is bisexual, and some of the quotes that he had to say about being bisexual and what it means to be bisexual were so powerful. He says, "There are people both inside and outside the queer community who say bisexuality is really about indecision, that it's impossible for bisexuals to be satisfied with one person, and the label is a way to not commit." And I do think that there are some people that think that, unfortunately, and I love that they point this out in this book. And then he defends his choice to be bisexual when he says, "It means I'm open to falling in love with anyone. I'm happy to commit, but the specific parts don't matter as much as the person." And I think that that was such a beautiful way to describe like what it means to someone to be bisexual. It's kind of interesting the way it talks about some of the like Mormon rules in their religion and the way the LGBT community fits into that, because apparently according to the Mormon rules, you can find the same sex attractive, but you can't act on it, which I find really odd. So basically they're saying that you can like find them attractive, but you can't like pursue a relationship, or else that would be a sin, and then you wouldn't be able to practice their religion anymore. You'd be like banned from their religion. It obviously makes it a very complicated situation for Sebastian, who has the bishop as his father, and his family is just very unaccepting of the LGBT community. It's just really sad, and this book somehow manages to be both like really heartbreaking and really uplifting all at the same time. Tanner's like, "Well, my opinion, a God worthy of your eternal love wouldn't judge you for who you love while you're here." And just a lot of like really deep and beautiful quotes like that just killed me. And because, you know, Sebastian and Tanner's relationship in this is so freaking innocent and sweet, and it's just hard to imagine anybody having a problem with that, like just the hate in this world, you know. It's just really sad. But I really loved Tanner's relationship with his mom. His mom is like so supportive of him, and she always gives him these little like bumper stickers that are like supportive, and like she wears her rainbow like aprons, and she's just such a cute and supportive mom, and honestly how I feel like I would be if I had a son. The Mormon people are very like kind and friendly, and their unacceptance of the LGBT community is probably the biggest flaw in the religion, and this book definitely handles that really sensitively and well, I think. I mean, I just think it shouldn't have to come to choosing either your sexuality or your religion religion. Like, they shouldn't have to be like separate things, you know? And I think the conversation about that in this book is really important and really eye-opening, I think. I really loved that this whole like story is revolving around this class where they're trying to write a novel before the end of their semester, and like the fact that Sebastian has already written a novel and it's being published and he's gonna go on a book tour and like he's an author now, which is so cool. Like, I just love stories that follow writers. I find them so much more fascinating and relatable. I would say this book is a lot like Fangirl and Simon vs. a Homo Sapiens Agenda, but it definitely packs a more emotional punch than those books do. Like, I think Fangirl and Simon vs. are pretty light and fluffy contemporary. Like, they never really like hit too hard in the feels, but this one definitely hits a little bit harder. You can always tell when an author pours their heart and soul into one book, and this was definitely that book for Christina Lauren. Like, this is easily my favorite Christina Lauren book now, and that's saying a lot because they're one of my favorite authors and I love a lot of their books. And you can tell how much research they put into like the Mormon religion. In the very back of the book, they included a list of like books and movies and different things that helped them when they were writing this, and there's a list of like movies and stuff, which I also thought was really cool and really informative to people who are like looking for other similar things. But I think this is easily one of my favorite books of the year, if not one of my favorite books of all time. And now I'm gonna be jumping into some spoilery-ish content, so if you haven't read it, come back and then we can talk about it later. So non-spoilery people, later, bye. The one part that I really like lost it and cried is when Sebastian came back to Tanner when he like had left him for a while, and then he came back and he was like, I'm sorry, I don't have anybody to talk to about this, whatever, and he just felt so like unaccepted and so like unloved, and he was just like crying, and the way like it said he like sobbed into his neck, like I was just, oh, and he said, I don't think I've ever felt this worthless. I like died. I was like crying, and then he's like, when Tanner's mom came outside and then she just like hugged Sebastian for so long, like, oh. But I loved that scene too at the end when Sebastian was having his book signing and Tanner like went to the book signing and saw him, and then he just drew like a mountain in his book. I was like getting such Brokeback Mountain vibes when he drew that mountain. Like, the fact that he's writing this story about his own experiences with Sebastian in the classroom, like, I was like, really? You can't think of anything else to write? But it makes so much sense. Like, that's why it's called Autobiography, because Tanner's basically writing his autobiography, so I thought that's cute. On page 83, there's like a lot of discussion about the Mormons and what their opinion is on the gay people and whether or not it's like, you know, they talk about how it's clear as mud, like they don't really know what their stance is. I like at the end though on page 85 when he says, in summary, love and respect, but only if you're willing to live by their rules, and if not, then exclusion is the only answer. I like how it points out that religion is so great as long as you follow their rules, because if not, then... And I love when Tanner's like, kissing boys feels good, kissing girls feels good, but something tells me kissing Sebastian would be like a sparkler falling in the middle of a field of dry grass. Just so cute. I love that. I also really loved the backstory behind Tanner's parents and the way that his dad was raised Jewish and his mom was raised Mormon, and now they don't really like follow any religion. Their backstory was like really interesting, and like the way that his mom has a sister who came out as lesbian and then like she was excluded from the church, and like she's the reason, like her sister is basically the reason why she stopped being a Mormon, because she supported her sister. Love the way that his dad describes his mom, and he's like, your mom is my sun, my world is only warm when she's in it. Like, his parents are so cute, and I love when parents are really well developed in young adult books, because they should be, because parents are so important in young adults' lives. That was like really fucking devastating when Sebastian overheard his parents talking about one of the other sons coming out as gay, and he was like, they were like, oh my god, that's so terrible, like, and they were like, how are his parents doing? And then Tanner's like sitting there like, she asked about his parents, almost like having a gay son is something they have to manage to explain or to deal with. He's gay, he didn't die, nobody is wounded. And I like really appreciate that part, because I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, they're like asking, how are his parents doing now that he's come out? Like, this isn't about his parents, this is about him. Jesus, like, that part just really like But I just think it really shows how much Tanner like really loved him at the end when he's like, I don't care if you break my heart, Sebastian. I went into this knowing it could happen and I gave it to you anyway, but I don't want you to break your own. You have so much space in your heart for church, but does it have space for you? And that was just like really powerful to me, because I'm like, Sebastian's willing to like give his whole life to the church, and like they don't even accept him for like who he loves. Like, it's just, oh man. The one part though that I did want to mention that I didn't really care for in this book was Tanner's decision to like have sex with Autumn. Like, he just had a bad moment with Sebastian. Like, they broke up, they got in a fight or something, and then Tanner went to Autumn's house, and like he knew that Autumn like secretly had feelings for him, and then he sleeps with her and she was a virgin. I didn't really care for that. I mean, I know it's like Tanner's a main character who's flawed and he makes bad decisions sometimes, but like, really, like, he slept with her? I just didn't really like, that was the one part in this book that I was like, I don't think that was necessary. Like, I would understand maybe if they just kissed or something, but like, they weren't even intoxicated or anything. Like, they were sober, and he felt like shit, and he was like, oh my god, I led her on. Like, dude. I really love though how the book ended with Tanner going to UCLA and getting out of the small town in Utah that was like suffocating him. And I love that Sebastian decided not to go on his mission, and he followed him to UCLA, and he's not going to go to BYU anymore. He's going to plan to transfer somewhere else. And I just think Sebastian getting out of that small town that's only Mormon, and like the religion is just suffocating him with his family and everything. Like, he just needed to get out of there and like see how accepting the rest of the world is. That's so great for them. And like, I would love to see where their story continues, because it just ended right when they go to college. It just makes me happy knowing that they're out of Utah. I love a happy ending. It was really, really good. Sorry this got so rambly towards the end. I was just like mentioning different things that I liked. I didn't write any notes before I filmed this video, obviously. I just kind of like started going for it, so that's why this is kind of very unorganized. But I'm sorry, I just wanted to talk about how much I love this book while it's still fresh in my brain. I really hope you guys do read this book. I mean, if you're still watching, you probably did, but if you haven't, then this book comes out September 12th. If you have read this book, what are your thoughts? Let me know below, and we can fangirl over it together, talk about it together, talk about any issues you had with this book. Let me know, we can talk about it, and thank you guys so much for watching as always. I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much to Kristen Dwyer. Why is this so hard? Thank you so much to Kristen Dwyer. When it talks about like renaming them Steve and Bucky and giving them superpowers, like, yes! Freaking, I ship Captain America and Winter Soldier, like, so hard.